so whoever speaks can be. Right now, I'm seeing Fran. I also couldn't see Alex.
Oh no!
I'm waving to you.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Fran, did you fix your microphone?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Perfect, we got you. Alex, can you try your microphone?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Awesome.
Although I'm not seeing you, so I think you might still need to fix the highlight.
Hey, this is Mabath. I think the host needs to make it, on my view, it's a gallery view. So the host needs to make the main view for everybody, the gallery view. So that way everybody can see it. Your view probably is just the speaker view. Yeah, for other attendants, it's gallery view. I can see everybody's.
So yeah. Can you, Kathy, spotlight speakers maybe, just so that when it's streaming, we're not seeing. Everybody. I mean, we can chat afterwards.
Yeah, looks like right now Kathy is pinned. So whomever's on speaker view can see Kathy only.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do I remove this now? I guess, Mabash, are you in the meeting? You want to take over and kind of help when I'm talking?
Kathy, why don't you make Mabash as the host? You give the host to him?
Yeah, I'm giving Mabash a host so that I can focus on talking and say hi to everybody and, not trying to run a meeting when I'm talking.
Sure, yeah.
Thanks so much, Mabash.
My pleasure.
Can you be a host now?
Yeah, I think I am. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna try to play around with the views.
Okay, I just want to say hi to everybody. Thank you for joining our first meeting today. This is my first time hosting a meeting, but I'm very excited to be here. Just a quick introduction to everybody. My name is Kathy Mai, and I am an investor with Bond Global Venture. After I got to know a little bit more of what Sunny's doing, I felt very passionate about what she tried to achieve for the community, especially in the education tech space. So I kind of volunteer myself to coordinate this event. So just want to say thank you for being here. And I would like to introduce you, Alex, Francis, and Sunny. So I'm going to pass the mic to Sunny so Sunny can introduce herself.
All right. Thank you so much, Kathy. Hello, everyone. It's been a while since we hosted our last online event. So we're really, really excited to bring our friends from GSV Ventures with us today to tell you everything about the GSV Cup. Of course, I'm biased as an educator / investor. A little bit about myself for those friends who are new to the Born Global Community Studio and Venture Fund. I am the general partner at Born Global Ventures. We are a VC fund focused on early stage tech startups, especially led by immigrant entrepreneurs. So we are committed to backing anyone that's with a global mindset, whether it's foreign born or native born, through the Born Global community in addition to the fund. So here at the Born Global community, our mission is to support anyone, diverse entrepreneurs and investors with a global mindset, but also to interconnect local and international innovation hubs. A little bit more about my background. I actually came from academic world, been doing research on the behavioral science of innovation diffusion for the past 20 years. Also an educator, been teaching in business school, like 4 business schools for the past, this is year 19, can you believe it? And also online for the past more than a decade. So when it comes to EdTech, that's definitely an area that I'm super passionate about. Another reason is one of our own portfolio companies that we started building in our venture studio, which is a model where you invest and also co-build startups from scratch, is an EdTech company. And we've been not only testing in America, all to address the digital divide, but also pilot testing in India with a lot of areas with low bandwidth startups. So essentially, I just wanted to share so many reasons that I'm especially excited to be joining today with Alex and Fran, and also give a warm welcome to our friends in San Francisco and Chicago, right? So, a big hello from Houston, Texas. I'm so glad that we could continue doing this in Zoom to bring the world closer together. I'm also very happy to see a lot of our community members, a lot of EdTech Startup founders joining us today. We're also live streaming on LinkedIn, on YouTube. What else? On different channels, but super, super excited. I guess I'll pass this on to Alex. Hey, Alex.
Hi everyone, how's it going? No, I'm so excited to be here and have the opportunity to share more about GSV, our ASU GSV conference, and the GSV Cup, of course. But yeah, by way of quick introduction, my name is Alex. I am an investor with GSV Ventures. I started my career in investment banking and then moved over to a strategy role at an EdTech company called Chegg, one of the larger public EdTech companies. And then I joined GSV as an investor. So yeah, and then I run the GSV Cup with Fran. So I'm super excited to share more.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sunny and the Born Global team for having us. So thrilled to be here with you all today. Similar to Alex, I'm an investor with the GSV team based out of Chicago. I'm actually at New York for EdTech Week this week. So if anyone is there, would love to meet in person. By way of introduction to me, born and raised in Chicago, kind of got passionate about education through that. A lot of my peers growing up in the city haven't had the opportunities I've had, and I'm sure some of the other folks on this have had to succeed in life based on their own educational, offerings that were offered to them in the city. And that's kind of gotten me passionate about it from a charitable side at a young age. Fast forward, I started my career in the insurance world. I became a product manager at an InsurTech company and then a venture capitalist in the InsurTech space. Met the GSV team and thought it was an awesome way to kind of combine my personal interests in increasing access to education with my professional life in VC. And a year later, here we are talking to all of you about the GSV Cup, which I'm super, super pumped to do. And that's kind of a little bit about me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Fran and Alex. I can't wait to dig in. In fact, I've been a judge and I haven't been able to physically attend the conference yet, but as you could see, our event team put up this flyer, which shows the giant stage of ASU GSV Summit. Maybe you could also give us a little background information about this big conference that brings all the world's EdTech, not only founders, but all the ecosystem together, right? Investors, universities, schools, and a lot of partners. And then we can then zoom into the GSV Cup for the pitch competition specifically.
Yeah, it'd be my pleasure to take that one, Sunny. So the ASU GSV Summit, it's in its 14th year this year. It is a partnership between us and Arizona State. We like to say we kind of figured out it would be smart to partner with ASU and President Crow before that was in vogue. The conference started in Tempe, Arizona, and has grown to the behemoth it is today in San Diego. Last year, we had 6,000 attendees in person and about 15,000 from all over the world. People represented from, I think, over 125 countries were at the conference from every continent. The conference's mission and vision is to create a world in which all people have equal access to the future. And we believe education technology is the best path in order to help us achieve that mission. The conference catalyzes change and innovation in education by promoting idea sharing, connecting people with mentors, connecting people with potential partners, connecting people with potential investors, potential customers, etc. We love to hear stories of, I founded a company and 2 years later I hired someone I met at ASU GSV, or one of my board members ended up someone I met at ASU GSV. Those are the kinds of stories, we're so thrilled to hear. The conference, as Sunny said, kind of brings together entrepreneurs from the early and growth stages in the EdTech space across pre-K to gray. It also has investors who invest in the space from seed through the public markets. It has educators in the K-12 space from around the world, principals, district leaders. It has higher education leaders at the university president, provost level. It has chief learning and HR officers from around the world at some of the world's largest companies. It has philanthropic leaders and foundation leaders who are interested in education, like the Gates Foundation, the Walton Foundation, et cetera. It has policymakers like secretaries of education. President Obama has spoken, President Bush, President Vicente Fox from Mexico has spoken, politicians from around the world, and other policymakers. It has media. It has teachers, it has students, all in one room, kind of to catalyze change and innovation. And that's kind of what makes the conference unique. And as part of that conference, of course, we have the GSV Cup, which I think the next portion of our talk we'll get into. But that cup does culminate at that conference. And actually the top 200 companies in the cup will get a free ticket to attend. And it is a leadership facing conference. So those tickets can be a little expensive. So that's a great award.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I felt like I got tickets every year. I just haven't been able to make it in person. I definitely don't want to miss it next year.
Well, you'll be there this year, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now that, we've got each other and we're supporting the work you're doing and taking our portfolio companies and encouraging all of our Born Global community founders also to submit their companies to GSV Cup. So maybe, Alex, would you like to zoom in to tell us more about the GSV Cup particularly?
Yeah, absolutely. So much to say, but yeah, and please listen up because applications are open right now through the end of September. So really great opportunity for early stage entrepreneurs. But the GSV Cup is the world's largest ed tech pitch competition for pre-Series A startups, so pre-seed, seed stage companies innovating in education and workforce skills. Last year we had over 800 companies apply. This year I think we'll have even more. And then from that 800, we have over 175. This year I actually think it's closer to 190 VCs and strategics from top VCs like obviously GSV, and then Owl Ventures, Reach, NEA, Bain Capital Ventures. So really big investor, just big names, big venture capital names across the space will judge the applicants that apply. And then from that, with the judges' help, we'll narrow down to what we call the Elite 200. And so those are the top 200 semifinalists. And if you're a top 200 semifinalist, beyond the recognition and all the marketing pushes we do to, celebrate that you're one of the top 200 most innovative EdTech startups around the world. You also get a free ticket to the ASU GSV Summit that Fran was talking about and all the amazing things that comes along with that. You get Google Cloud credits and then also discounts to HubSpot for startups. And then if you're top 200, we then come out with the top 20 that is also selected with the help of those 190 VCs and strategics. The top 20 has the opportunity to pitch on what's called our Stage X. So it's our main stage at the summit. So that's the top 20. And then from that top 20, we have judges and kind of American Idol style help from the audience to narrow down to what is the top 3. And then the top 3 will have a final event on the last night where they'll pitch 2 and 1, 2, and 3 will be selected. First place gets $250K of non-dilutive funding. Second place gets $150K and third place gets $100K. So yeah, again, no strings attached funding. This is just a really exciting opportunity for early stage startups and really just a way that GSV wants to support the community, especially some of these early stage founders. And then just some statistics again from last year, we had over 800 applicants. Over 50% of the startups had a female founder. It was, Fran, correct me if I had the number correct, but I think it was around like 52% or so had a founder of color. And then we had over 40% of the startups were domiciled outside the US. So truly an international competition. It's a great opportunity again for early stage startups and innovating in ed tech. So please, everyone, apply. I don't know. Can people access the chat? Happy to shoot the application link if people don't already have it.
Yeah, absolutely. We could share in the chat. I also did it in my LinkedIn post, and we'll also do a post-event newsletter to share recording along with reminder, hey, end of the month is coming up. That's why I really appreciate both of you, Fran and Alex, taking the time to help our founders prepare for that application, especially when you think about it is the world's largest, it can be also intimidating too. Like everybody wants to put together the best application for sure. But I also wanted to comment on the fact that it is really international. I mean, I've seen a lot of really, really solid founders. And as Fran mentioned earlier, EdTech is a global issue. If anybody is familiar with United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, I always say, I felt like the EdTech goal, number 4, is the root cause of all those other problems. Like if we can address that, we could address poverty, we could address gender issue, we could address climate tech. But it's also interesting, yesterday I was at a Latino tech pitch competition sponsored by Israel Consulate General in Houston. That's also the Born Global spirit. The crypto company is actually an EdTech company. I was like, everybody showed up thinking it's a crypto company, but it's actually educating people about all these new technologies. So I really felt like it is, such a great mission you guys are doing. And there's definitely more value to just a pitch competition per se. Of course, those big checks are great, but also just a great forum for people to get to know, like, what are the latest happenings in the EdTech space. So going back to that international lens, especially from a Born Global perspective, I wonder, have you guys noticed any, immigrant or foreign-born or international founders among the EdTech companies? And honestly, I know there's also like a list of unicorns in the EdTech space. And if you look at that, a lot of them are also immigrant entrepreneurs. I just wonder, in GSV Cup, have you seen some of them? Because I've also seen a lot of founders presenting and showing, hey, our market is not only just like our home country or the United States. Our marketplace is all the emerging markets in the world, or, I'm seeing some really ambitious so-called Born Global companies. By the way, it doesn't mean like you're immigrant. Born Global is actually a business concept that means you have a globally scalable company from day one. So essentially early stage, but having the global market in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to take an initial stab, especially referencing last year's Cup class.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe Alex, you want to talk about like GSV's thesis on some of the topics Sunny mentioned. Just to highlight, like, to your question, I'd love to highlight who the top 3 companies were last year.
Right.
The company that won our contest was actually Kibo School, which was a company based in Africa that provides STEM education for women. And of course, the founder has a lot of ties to the United States, worked at Google, etc. So, I mean, they won the competition. So we're a big fan of these sorts of things. The company that came in second place is a Neo University out of Mexico City called Collective. And that university services not only Mexico, but the entire Spanish-speaking Latin American population. And I'm pretty sure has vision to also support United States English isn't their primary language students, to provide them the opportunity to have a master's degree at a reduced cost. And then the third place was a US-based company founded by a Latinx founder named, so they claim the company's name is Clayful. And so I guess just highlighting those 3 companies, you can see, the global reach of the competition, the diversity of the founders that end up being successful. And of course, GSV's investment thesis is quite global. And I think, Alex, I'll kick it over to you if you want to talk a little bit about some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our name is GSV, which stands for Global Silicon Valley. And it's really this idea that GSV to our core believes that talent is equally distributed, but that opportunity is not, right? So that's why we invest globally. And also, I mean, again, we have found some of our most innovative and amazing entrepreneurs outside of the US. We invest really heavily in India in particular. And a really exciting theme that we've seen there is this idea of education as an export. So there, I mean, again, if we think about global companies, be it like a Byju's, right, who expands via acquisition, or another company we have called Quizzes, that it has a huge presence in the US as well as India. So this idea that, again, if you're solving a problem and you have the right solution, it should be able to scale beyond your current market as well, and really solve what is like a global problem. And it's difficult, right? Especially when you get into education, because markets are so, like, education is so different from market to market, especially if you're talking about, you know, K-12 and different kind of propensity to spend on education and just different standards, tests, anything like that. So it's definitely a really, really difficult thing to do. But I mean, absolutely, we truly believe that the best entrepreneurs and the best companies will be able to scale globally. So yeah, definitely a core part of our thesis, and really excited to see some of these companies that can really have this international reach.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting that. I'm really glad, because I always love the global Silicon Valley kind of concept, of course, abbreviated as GSV, because Silicon Valley is really not a geographical concept. It can happen everywhere, right? Frank, were you
The
gonna add
mindset,
something?
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, you know, I think Alex mentioned the statistic on last year's Cup applicants. It was like 42% of the Elite 200 were from abroad, and this year we're hoping to get that up to 50. So if you guys are able to help us do that, you know, by making an application, we'd love it. You know, the competition really is for you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we're here, right? You know, we believe in the galaxy model when it comes to investing. Like we always love collaborating with investor partners with similar mindset. So I'm really glad we have such amazing alignment in terms of our global emphasis. The other thing is, you know, when it comes to like our kind of founders, there are founders that are located internationally, but there's also Americans, like foreign-born Americans, like usually you don't see their identity being highlighted. To your point, Alex, right now we're celebrating like women, people of color, which is amazing. We're also strong advocates of women founders and minority founders, but what we also realize a lot of foreign-born American-based founders, you know, essentially it's hard to tell, like, you know, it's hard to get, there's usually not data of like, where were you born? Were you born, you know, in the United States, or were you born, you know, were you born in another country? So that's usually something we feel like we need to highlight and celebrate our heritage to encourage the immigrant founders, foreign-born founders that are already here, so that they can take the initiatives and showcase what they're building. Just like other kind of diversity focuses, you know, because this is really cultural diversity. In fact, there's a reason I believe a lot of EdTech founders are foreign-born, because they came from a different education system, and they're able to bring, you know, different perspectives when they're seeing what's happening in the United States, for example. And of course, you know, there are tons of language-related EdTech companies like Duolingo and others that are doing super well. But my next question is really, how do we, I'd like to like redefine EdTech, because I feel like in general, people feel like it has to be school related, but I'm also glad in the application page, Alex, there was a highlight of, you know, it's education technology, but also skilling, right? Which is another super important topic, especially post-COVID, in terms of reskill, upskill. So I just feel like, you know, let's emphasize on the fact that we're not just talking about school education kind of technology. We're actually talking about anything that is bringing the future of learning across board. It's almost like, let's redefine EdTech so that it is truly, you know, the way you guys put it, K through, did you say K through gray?
Yeah, we pre-K through gray.
I love it. Exactly. So it's almost like
Exactly.
it's lifelong learning. And regardless of whether you're in school or not, like you're in a corporate, you're in like even startup founders, right? There's always learning to do. So can you maybe elaborate on some of the areas under the big umbrella of the EdTech?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could take that a lot of different directions, whether it's certain trends or kind of sectors. I think on the most basic level, we definitely have what we think of as subsectors. So again, like you said, very wide aperture for what is ed tech. I think a lot of people traditionally just think like K-12 higher ed, but it is truly like from your early childhood to when you have gray hair, right? That's the pre-K to gray. So throughout your entire life, you'll have to do continuous learning. So we really subsector, we'll have those with the GSV Cup, but we have early childhood, K through 12, and then, which obviously can be divided within that, but K through 12, higher ed, another sector that we call hired. So really this idea of what are the startups out there that are helping people, whether it's get from college to a professional role, or maybe an alternative pathway to college, right? A lot of, whether we're thinking some of these trade school paths, or like an apprenticeship, a company like Multiverse is a great example. So how can you maybe take an alternative pathway to traditional higher ed and really get those professional skilling that you need? And then workforce enterprise skilling. So that's traditional companies like, we're investors in a company Degreed, which is kind of like the infrastructure, the learning experience platform, or Coursera, right, which provides professional skilling courses for the enterprise. And then finally, adult consumer learning, which is what you think of when you have like a Duolingo. We have a lot of investments in that space, but how are you helping, those adult lifelong learners? That's kind of outside necessarily your job. So those are kind of the sectors. So yeah, huge umbrella of ed tech, kind of workforce learning, workforce skilling. But those are kind of how we divide the subsectors. It really is kind of throughout your life. And the best companies, we think, will figure out how to really extend that LTV, extend that lifetime value, because it's really so divided right now. If you think about it, there are solutions for K-12 and then entirely different solutions for higher ed and entirely different solutions for workforce learning. And because those are all really different learning journeys, and it'll be really interesting to see some of these companies that try to really thread the needle across your learning journey from early childhood to lifelong learning. So I'll pause there. That was a little bit of a mouthful, but yeah.
No, I loved how you ended this this overview with that thread across, because I completely agree. And also that's something, of my personal mission, to bridge gaps and close divides, whether it's between academia and business, or, founders, investors across border, different culture. Because in the edtech space, or say education space, you're absolutely right. It's almost like, okay, every tower is like, closed door, and then companies are closed door. Like essentially there's a lack of interconnection. That's really going back to, the spirit of how can we, instead of having all these solar systems, have a galaxy where there's a way, because one individual going through the lifespan is going to be, involved in different stages. And the other thing I observe, Alex, is the fact that nowadays things are happening simultaneously, which means previously you learn, right? And then you get to the workforce and you work and you make money and then you invest. Nowadays, I'm even seeing some of our edtech founders. I'll give you an example. There's an AI edtech company. I don't know if Susanna's tuning in, but essentially, to teach people about machine learning and artificial intelligence while having them do the labeling and coding and making money and being compensated. In other words, there are ways we could bridge all these different, traditionally viewed as linear process and also disconnected sectors altogether. I would definitely love to see those kind of companies. So I wonder, so Fran and Alex, do you guys have specific focuses when it comes to looking at applications, or because I know Fran has background from InsurTech and FinTech side. And I love your experience, Alex, in Chegg, because the chicken egg kind of story is not only the story about all the students that I see over the past 2 decades of always stuck in between, but also the story about early stage tech startups too, right? You always get stuck in that chicken egg. So I wonder, coming from your different background, do you have also different emphasis in terms of the companies that you're looking at?
Yeah.
You want to start?
Yeah. So we do kind of break up coverage on the team amongst those 5 verticals that Alex discussed. And then, of course, each team member kind of has their own unique skills. We also break up coverage geographically, and therefore everyone kind of gets a flavor for everything. So me personally, given my background with, like you say, but also in product management, I cover the consumer learning space. And then I also cover higher ed space. That said, geographically, I also do the US Midwest, LATAM, and more of a supporting role in Africa and the other emerging markets like India and Southeast Asia. And so therefore you could say, like, if there's a consumer learning deal in Europe, I'd probably be on the deal team. If there was a K-12 deal in LATAM, I'd probably be on the deal team, if that makes sense. And then Alex, you want to share your coverage areas. And then of course we have partners who are kind of each aligned to each of those geographies and verticals, and each bring their own unique set of skills from their, impressive backgrounds and such.
Yeah. So I spend a lot of my time around the kind of enterprise workforce learning space. Also kind of what I was talking about with the alternative pathways, alternative to traditional higher education. I will say though, like education's massive, especially since we invest internationally. But it's also niche, right? In the sense, so, I mean, everyone's seeing everything, doing everything. We call ourselves an ensemble. So it's we don't have one partner making a decision. We all come together, and we come together every Monday to talk about what we've seen in the space, because it's so important. Like you said, if we want to thread that needle, it's so important to understand what's going on in each subsector and in each geography. So exactly what Fran said, we do have our kind of coverage areas, so we can make sure we, cover every sector, but then also we just come together and there's a lot of learnings and sharing. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I really love that.
And if I could add, to Alex's point, and maybe back to your point, even about like, bringing ideas from a country you used to live in to the United States market as an immigrant founder or whatever, oftentimes that's why founders love to have us on the cap table, is because we can connect, something a company is doing, that I'm working with in Latin America with something a company in India who does similar things is doing, and how they've had success, and how other companies have had success in the United States in an adjacent market, and provide that tailored advice to those founders due to the ensemble nature that Alex discussed, and therefore promote ideas like you discussed, Sunny, in that part of the presentation. Like, for example, the affordable private school market. We have a number of holdings in that space in Africa, in India, and in Latin America. And of course, would love to figure out a way to make that something that could work in the United States, and stuff like that. So just wanted to kind of tie those threads.
Oh, I'm so glad, Fran, we're comparing notes, because that's really our experience too. Like, there's so much shared common challenges across these emerging markets that, once we have the pilot test in India, turns out, Cameroon in Africa, and Colombia in Latin America, like, essentially there's another point I wanted to share in addition to your observation about these cross-continental kind of market expansion, which is the fact that in these emerging markets, because of a lack of infrastructure, in the sense that they didn't have Blackboard or Canvas everywhere in public school yet. So in fact, we're actually seeing like a faster growth of EdTech startups in these companies. I guess it really explains partially. I mean, that's another discussion, like how come India is really leading the EdTech space, of course, as one of your primary market. I also think partially there's something going on, in China that India benefited, from an investment and marketplace perspective. But I definitely want to talk more often with you guys about, our observation across continents. And now back to the United States. What's interesting is, the same product will be serving different segments depending on the country you're at. Like, the EdTech company I mentioned are, pilot testing in public schools, while in the United States, we're actually looking at what you mentioned, like, after 3 o'clock and weekend kind of private schools instead of public school system, which already has extensive and hard to penetrate kind of infrastructure. So it's really interesting when we are looking domestically in the United States market, which is still, I guess it's really like still the biggest demand. But then in the meanwhile, the vast opportunities internationally. So I felt like this is a really comprehensive discussion to give us an overview of about the summit, the GSV Cup, as well as what GSV Ventures are focused on. I wonder if you have specific application tips and advice to share with our EdTech founders so that they can, prepare and get everything ready before September 30th.
Yeah, I think one thing that we'll share with you, if we haven't already, and maybe we could put in the chat as well, but we do have like a frequently asked questions and a little bit like a PDF to share on application tips that I think would be really useful to share with all the founders tuning into this. What I could do quickly is kind of just run through our framework. It's called 5Ps framework. It's how at GSV internally, how we judge or not judge, we evaluate all of our potential investment opportunities. And then that's how what the judges will use as well when evaluating the GSV Cup applicants. So I'll go through briefly, don't have to go into the nitty gritty on all of them, but very broadly, the 5Ps are people, product, potential, predictability, and purpose. So if I were to just briefly go through each one, people, obviously talking about the founders and the team around the founders that can support them. Obviously, we're talking about early stage companies. So at the end of the day, it's really about investing in the people. And one, whether it's experience or maybe like a unique insight into the market, what is it about this group of founders or this team that makes them unique and the right team to solve this problem? And do they really have a big vision for where they can take this company? So that's P. So that's people. And then product, why is this product different than the other solutions that are out there and the right kind of solution to solve the problem? What is unique about it? And then also, do you have early signs? Again, super early stage companies understand, but do you have early signs of product market fit? Right? Have you run some customer betas? What's that feedback like? Do you have a NPS score? Do you have certain retention metrics that show that you might be seeing early signs of product market fit? And then potential is all about market size. So really, how big is that TAM? How big can it get? Are you maybe serving a certain market, but what are some adjacent growth areas and growth markets that you can really expand into? And then predictability is more around business model and some key metrics that you might be able to share around how are you monetizing? If you're not monetizing yet, how are you planning to monetize? If you think about maybe certain price points, is it subscription based? Is it transaction based? Obviously, subscription is usually preferable to transaction, right? Because it's recurring and it's more predictable. Hence, predictability is the section. And then also, if you think about, can this scale and ultimately be a profitable business? And then finally, last but not least, is purpose. And that is all around what we at GSV believe is that the companies with the highest ROE, which is return on education, will deliver the highest ROI, return on investment. The way we think about return on education, we have 4 pillars. Are you decreasing cost? Are you increasing access? Are you improving outcomes, or are you providing leverage to learning leaders? Obviously, learning leaders can come in many different forms. Is it a manager at a company, or is it a teacher in a classroom? So yeah, that's kind of the 5P overview. Again, stop there because I know that's a lot to take in, but that's the framework at which each company will be evaluated.
Yeah, and if I could just piggyback a little bit on top of like the grading rubric, of course you'll be asked to submit like a pitch video. You'll also be asked to submit a pitch deck. We just would encourage you to be yourselves, and tell the story that you want to tell. That'll encourage, the judges to feel your company is, poised to make an incredible impact on the future of learning in one of the sectors. That's that 5Ps framework is really just, a framework to organize thinking on really that bigger topic, which is really like making an impact, helping people get educated, and providing people that equal access to the future. And make sure to tell the story that you want to tell in your own voice, that will make the judges feel that that's you.
Excellent. That helps a lot, Alex. Understanding what are the bigger picture you're looking at and the specifics that the founders need to indicate as they put together their materials. So I'm glad that we still have a couple of weeks for them to get ready. Although I would definitely encourage everyone to get the submission going as early as possible. I believe if you're unable to finish in one try, you could complete it another time, right? Like, I believe it's like it'll save as you go. So don't be intimidated, because sometimes you're procrastinating. It's like, I need to get everything ready. No, I think I like GSV's system where you can actually submit as much as you can and continue working on it and finish it up before the deadline. I'd like to open up to our community members to see if you guys have any thoughts, any questions, to bring it to Alex and Fran while they're here, so that you could also share what you're working on, get some feedback. I wonder, because I'm seeing a few EdTech founders in Zoom, and I'm also checking in the meanwhile on the streaming platforms to see if there are questions in the chat. So anyone? I think Andrew just unmuted yourself,
Yeah.
right, Andrew? I'm glad.
Yeah.
I hope you had a good trip.
Oh,
Welcome
I did.
back.
Yeah, for sure. Very long. So yeah, I'm not a founder or anything like that. I'm just an academic. But I'm really interested in what you do, just as a general idea, right? Because we know that education is evolving, and the space of education is evolving, and now it's very much no longer housed in the university. I'm wondering, just generally, because you've touched on so many of these companies before, what role do you think that ed tech is going to have in sort of redefining the sorts of education and employment value, right? So right now it's all housed oftentimes by universities and university rankings, right? So if you go to I think Alexandria, you said that you worked in an investment bank, right? So they'll push students through, like Ivy League universities will push students through a hiring pipeline, and that's generally how you get into that space. Do you think that a lot of these new innovations and these new companies are going to change that a little bit, sort of democratize education? Because I think that's a big question.
Yeah. Happy to take that one. So, I mean, absolutely. Again, even at GSV, like we're not really in the business of investing in companies that aren't democratizing education. Right. Like we don't need another company that provides tutoring to really rich families. But I mean, it's great if those are awesome solutions, businesses that can actually do well. But like, to us, when we say that the companies with the highest ROE will drive the highest ROI, those will be the companies that truly are able to access a really, really broad population and provide solutions to those who might not have had access to those opportunities. And that's how we think these companies really scale and become massive global businesses. So yeah, I mean, a lot of our companies, I can think of, for example, Physics Wala, which is in India, right? Their solutions are really targeting those tier 2, tier 3 cities, and providing a really affordable, accessible solution for them. So, I mean, and they're doing extremely well and scaling incredibly. So again, we really believe that the disruptive solutions will be the ones that are able to, like you said, democratize education and access.
Yeah, I think this is a great thing. There's tremendous value in that. I wonder how much of it is culture and how much of it is, access and technology. Technology can give people, the internet will give you all the information you need. It depends on how it's packaged. And it often depends upon what your employer values, right? So, I hope that case is made to companies to say, hey, we have all of this talent at these price points that are really attractive, right? And there's diversity, right, in the content they bring from their own unique perspective, but it's also just you can make a cash-based case for it. So yeah, it's an exciting thing.
Yeah, that's again a trend we've seen. I spent all my time on the enterprise learning side. Definitely a trend we're seeing that companies, whether you talk to head of HRs or chief learning officers, they are trying to move towards that skills-based hiring, right? Versus using like a degree as a form of signaling. It just takes a long time to shift kind of old norms, I should say. So definitely absolutely seeing trends moving in the right direction. Of course, I'm sure not as fast as we all would like, but yeah, we're definitely headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
Thanks, Andrew. And thank you, Alex, because Andrew is actually coming in to Born Global Ventures as our academic in residence, because he's really passionate about, and he's doing his DBA as right now as part of his practicum. It's almost like one of the things we're doing to bridge the gap between academia and venture, right? But there's a lot of overarching, like speaking of P for purpose, there's a lot of overarching mission driven, speaking of return on education and the things we could do as investors. I almost felt like we could actually help facilitate by making the kind of decision and by constructing the portfolio so that, to really bridge the gaps and, fix the fragmentation, to needle them all, like piece them all together, right? So I wonder, Alex and Fran, in addition to writing checks, of course, you guys are doing amazing work hosting the world's largest EdTech pitch competition, and of course, collaborating with ASU, which is also, I believe, #1 most innovative university in the United States, right? So I guess, is there anything else in addition to like due diligence, investment, and hosting events that you guys are doing in terms of helping the founders? And I can sense there's a lot of value add you guys are doing because the way you work as a team, but also the vision you have bringing the whole work together through for the future of learning.
Yeah, there's a couple things. And I think, your question, part of it is about how we're supporting portfolio companies, but another is how we're supporting the ecosystem at large.
Yep.
With regards to the ecosystem at large, Alex and I have put together what we call the Startup Academy, which is somewhat associated with the GSV Cup, as it is tailored for pre-Series A EdTech companies specifically. And that's a learning series that goes on virtually and is free to anyone who would like to come, where we feature the world's most renowned leaders in a specific topic with regards to early stage EdTech. So the first one was on building B2B growth strategies for early stage EdTech companies. We had, the CEO of Clever. We had the head of enterprise at CoRise talk to how they thought about building their business-to-business sales strategies at the earliest stages of their companies. We also had a session on business-to-consumer virality that featured the CEO of Quillbot, which is a large company that competes with Grammarly, as well as the chief product officer of Duolingo, Bob Meese, talk about how they built virality at the earliest stages of their journeys in entrepreneurship. This month, that Startup Academy was dedicated to an AMA on the GSV Cup. Next month, that'll continue with a session actually on international expansion as an EdTech company. So we'd love to have folks in this community engage with that Startup Academy series, as well as anyone around the world who might benefit. We do see a lot of saturation with regards to like online events targeted at early stage entrepreneurs. We feel like because of the summit, because of the cup, and because of our seats as investors, we have the relationships to kind of put on this tailored series specifically targeted for EdTech founders at this specific stage that has actually provided meaningful value. And we've gotten really great feedback on that. With regards to portfolio companies, I mean, we're incredibly focused on serving them and in whatever we can do to help. We have help on with regards to talent acquisition, people on staff. We have help with regards to marketing. And then of course we leverage the summit as well to help connect them with the world's most renowned leaders in whatever category they might need help with. Also, our partners probably are the most connected people in the world on the topic. Deborah and Michael Moe have been investing in education companies for over 25 years. I think Michael wrote the original white paper on EdTech before Y2K. So more or less, our portfolio companies have access to those networks of mentors, connections to generate new commercial partnerships, et cetera, as well as the other partners have their own expertise as well. And then, of course, we're touching base with them once a month, seeing how we can help, things like that. I don't know, Alex, if I missed anything with regards to platform. We do have a marketing team as well and a social team that helps them too. But yeah.
That's really fantastic, friend. I know, Alex, you want to add anything?
No, I thought that was perfect. Again, the summit is really this great culmination of all of it too. And so we love to get all of our companies, our portfolio companies, also cup companies involved in programming and speaking roles and all that stuff. So yeah, it really just, again, we invest in founders that we believe can run business without our help, but we love to roll up our sleeves and help out and lean in and do whatever we can to add value.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'll probably follow up with you guys to see how we could also share resources and collaborate. In fact, I'm going to work on a white paper with Andrew in this space too, also focusing on the international and emerging markets. So would love to quote the white papers you guys already have and potentially collaborate on thought leadership. But I'm a big believer of investing not only financial capital, but it seems like you guys are already investing in the intellectual capital through the Startup Academy and the human capital, the social capital, bring everyone together, making the connections. So lots of synergy to continue exploring, and hopefully we'll be able to work even more closely in addition to judging and participating. If there's anything we could do to support your work, both from Houston, where we're headquartered at, but also from our international partners and the countries that we're working closely with. You may not know this, but Houston is such an international city with 1 in 4 Houstonians being foreign born. That's almost like twice the average of the United States population of immigrants. And we have 90 plus consulates here, lots of trade groups, agencies that are connecting the world, almost like a shortcut to go global, like literally from Houston. So if there's anything we could do to support your work. I didn't know, friend, you mentioned Midwest. I'm a big heartland, like American heartland advocate. So, consider us part of your, by the way, I went to Indiana, so not too far. Yeah, so if I didn't know if you have within the United States, different areas, geographical focus, but we'll be happy to add a GSV Houston branch. There's definitely lots of potential here. And Alex, I'm gonna be visiting San Jose for a conference this weekend. I'll shoot you some message to see if we could catch up.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Sorry.
We have Michael Moe, our CEO, is actually based in Dallas. So we have presence in Texas. And yeah, Deborah, our founding partner, also sits in Chicago, along with Michael Cohn. And as Alex mentioned, opportunity and investment capital aren't always aligned with where the talent is. And we're definitely big believers in that. And yes, Midwest is the
Yeah.
best.
Way to go. And we'll be happy to invite Michael for in-person event in Houston whenever he finds some time too, so we can get together, because people are hungry for in-person nowadays, as you could tell. But we still want to continue these online meetings, just so that regardless of where we're located, especially when we have international focus, to continue the conversation, continue like comparing notes, exchanging thoughts, because again, to bring the world closer to fix all these fragmented sections in EdTech in other areas. The future of learning is really decentralized and everywhere, right? So let me do another round in the room to see if there are anybody else with questions and wanted to open your microphone. Just to check in really quick. All right, if not, I don't know, Kathy, if you want to give some closing remarks, we could just make announcement of our future events, I guess. Do you have anything coming up, Fran and Alex, that you want to share with us?
Yeah, just look out, make sure to get your applications in before September 30th. There's really no downside and no cost to applying. We hope the assets you need to apply can be reused, help you think through your strategy. And like I say, look out for us announcing that Startup Academy October session on international expansion in the coming weeks. If you don't already, we do have a newsletter called News to Knowledge, as well as a newsletter called EIEIO that I would totally recommend you follow if you're interested in education. And it's been a pleasure to have the chance to connect with all of you. And thanks again to Sunny, and you and the Born Global team for having us. We really appreciate it and look forward to future collaboration.
Thanks, Fran.
Yeah, what Fran said, again, please apply. We have about 9 days left, 10 days.
9 days already.
I know, we're really getting
goodness,
into crunch time.
I thought there's 2 weeks when we were planning.
I know. September flew by. But again, that's plenty of time in the sense of the application shouldn't take too long. So yeah, please get your applications in. Obviously, we have a lot of resources, like Fran said, and feel free to reach out to either of us with any questions. But yeah, we're so excited to get to judging and then see all of your incredible companies. So again, yeah, thank you for having us. This was really exciting.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Alex.
Sorry, I just have a few closing thoughts and questions. I love what we're doing here, and thank you so much for being part of this. It will be helpful because I love data. How many applications you have received so far?
Yeah, we're around 1,000 if you include partial applications. Finished applications are a little lower. We actually usually get like a ton of them on the day of the deadline, but so we're anticipating over 1,000.
What was the number last year for you?
It was over 800.
Okay, so it's a slight uptick from this year. Hopefully we have reminder for people so that they can go and finish the application. I'll make sure I buck them.
All right, so for the Born Global community, we do have an in-person event celebrating the Hispanic Heritage Month. We'll be meeting in person downtown Houston at Impact Hub on Friday, October 7th, so we can get together and catch up in person. And Fran and Alex, let us know whenever you find yourselves in Houston. We'd love to host you guys again and get together. Of course, Michael too, and other colleagues. Definitely look forward to collaborating, and we will make sure to send reminders to our founders to get the application completed, not just like start filling by 30th. And let us know the details of the international expansion webinar, like workshop. That sounds really amazing. It's almost like I can't wait to jump into that. So definitely look forward to participating in your events. And I'm seeing you're doing AMAs around too. Like essentially just follow Fran, follow Alex. They're on Facebook. They're on LinkedIn. They're on Twitter. They keep doing amazing work and sharing their expertise. So I'm sure there are more events to pick their brain down the road. But today was such a great treat. I felt like we got a lot of insider insights, both in terms of the depth of specifics, but also the overarching mission and the big picture, what we can all accomplish together. Thank you again, Alex. Thank you again, friend. Look forward to seeing you guys at the summit and the cup. And of course, judging judging all these applications too.
All right.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thanks for having us.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
So demand.
Yeah,
Hello?
Sunny, I'm gonna go ahead and end the meeting right now.
Okay.
And the recording will be available on our account, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna end it right now.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.